news coming in. The European Union chief Ursula von der Leyen's statement coming in on free trade agreement with India. Now, remember, it's von der Leyen who's also coming for Republic Day as the chief guest as well to India. Now she is speaking on the FTA, saying that this is going to be a big deal. It will be the mother of all deals that will be signed with India. This coming in after Trump's tariff threats and Trump's bullying with tariffs. And European Union now is right now the European Union chief speaking at Davos says that India, that EU will be signing the biggest deal with India. My colleague Pranav joins us live on the broadcast from the business desk. Pranav, well, of course, this comes in as a big statement from the European Union, as EU, somewhere says that, it puts in that faith in India and says that it's going to be one of the biggest deals.
The development is extremely important, not just from economic perspective, but even from political perspective. If you look at Ursula's complete statement, what she's talking about is in face of global uncertainties, which is indirectly a reference to the ongoing trade war between US as well as the EU. She's saying that the European Union is open to trading with different regions, the fastest growing regions in the world, where she mentions that next week when she comes to India, she's going to sign a deal. The deal is closer. Almost the final negotiations are on, and it is expected that the deal will be signed with, which will give access to about 2 billion people, is what she mentions. So yes, it's a big signal, not just from the point of view of a trade deal between India and EU, but also to Donald Trump, who's, so to say, locked in a bitter battle with NATO nations, where he's already threatened them with a 10% tariff because of their opposition to the Greenland, US's proposal to take over Greenland.
Right. To stay on with that, Pranav, we also have that reaction on camera of the European Union chief. Take a listen, and viewers.
And right after Davos, the next weekend, I will travel to India. There's still work to do, but we are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals. One that would create a market of 2 billion people, accounting for almost a quarter of global GDP. And crucially, that would provide.
And my colleague Pranav is back with us. So as Pranav, we can see the words that are being used by the European Union chief. Now, she says it's going to be a historic one. And there have been, of course, a lot of stop-starts as far as the European Union's deal with India is concerned. But given the geopolitical situation, as you pointed out, we see that this process is only fastening up. And this is a message being sent out from the European Union also. And in some ways, advantage India. Could you just help us understand what could be in store as far as this deal is concerned, and what could be of advantage to India in this?
Well, just to give you a perspective on the deal, that is, basically India is European Union's 11th largest partner, and EU is in fact India's second largest trading partner. What we're looking at is primarily market access, as she mentioned, 2 billion people and the fastest growing region. Just to put it in numbers, some of the areas that are expected to, that are expected to figure out in the deal are electrical and electronic equipment, organic chemicals, mineral fuels and oils, machinery and nuclear reactors, iron and steel, and pharmaceuticals. These are some of the sectors that are expected to, get a boost because of the India-EU trade deal. We are expecting the development any time post the Republic Day, where she is the chief guest, Ursula is the chief guest on 26th of January.
Right. To stay on with it, Pranav, in fact, we have the full statement now coming in of Ursula von der Leyen. Let's take a listen, and viewers.
The next weekend, I will travel to India. There's still work to do, but we are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals. One that would create a market of 2 billion people, accounting for almost a quarter of global GDP. And crucially, that would provide a first-mover advantage for Europe, with one of the world's fastest growing and most dynamic continents. Europe wants to do business with the growth centers of today and the economic powerhouses of this century, from Latin America to the Indo-Pacific and far beyond. Europe will always choose the world, and the world is ready to choose Europe.
All right, we have market expert Ashish Vakankar joining us on the phone line. Mr. Vakankar, well, we just heard the EU chief. She calls it the mother of all deals. Now, it captures both scale and symbolism, isn't it, sir? How significant is the timing of this, especially given the fact that she has been invited for the Republic Day parade? But the main show, it seems, will be this deal.
Yes, thank you very much. I think it is important to understand that, while we have faced challenges with the bilateral trade agreement with the United States, India has been active and very aggressive in ensuring that the other trading blocs, particularly Europe, which is significantly large, that free trade agreement is done with. We've seen India go ahead and do similar trade agreements with UAE. We've seen it with Australia. We are actively pursuing with various other countries. So, one can look at things and say, we have bilateral trade agreement is stuck and India is not moving ahead. But the very fact that we are the largest growing economy in the world, with around 8.2% GDP growth that we saw, it is important for us to ensure that things keep moving. And just because one country or...
Yeah. Yes, sir. I think we've lost the connection with Mr. Vakankar. I think we also have market expert Ashish Bagga joining, Ajay Bagga, I beg your pardon. We have market expert Ajay Bagga joining us on the phone line. Mr. Bagga, well, this is the mother of all deals, as EU calls it. It's an impending free trade agreement expected to be signed when Ursula von der Leyen is in the country. And sir, how does this come in with the tariffs that have been slapped by Donald Trump against different countries and still threatens more? There is a US-India trade deal that's still in the works. How does this come into picture, sir? And how does it work to India's advantage?
Yeah, it does, because EU is the largest trading bloc in the world, made up of 27 countries. It's a unified market. So it will open up a lot of opportunities for Indian exports. It will reduce the cost of doing business, and also it will help the industries which are suffering from the US tariffs to reallocate exports into the EU. So it's a very significant move, and the markets are watching this with bated breath.
And is there any mitigation as far as when we see, when you talk about tariffs on Indian exports to the US, so can it have some direct or indirect impact to that?
Yeah, there will be rerouting of Indian exports into the EU. We have seen that last year as well. In calendar 2025, our exports to the EU went up quite sharply. So it is a very good market, made up of consumers with a lot of purchasing power. It is a market which goes by the rule of law, with good regulations, good protections, and the exporters will be able to grow this market. So overall, it's a very positive move, and it will help the Indian exporters and the broader Indian economy.
And sir, what does it also say in terms of symbolisms, apart from the impact and the scale, but in terms of the symbolism given the current geopolitical scenario, sir, the fact that faith is put in India Inc., sir, with European Union, the message that is being sent out here is really, really big. The fact that that India, that New Delhi did not bow down, and that has been admitted by Trump's Commerce Secretary also, that India never bowed down to, let US dictate its terms. Now we see that it also pays off, and, there are takers when it comes to a common, negotiation table.
Yeah, absolutely. I think India has handled this very well. And if you see, even the countries which have signed up with Trump, I'll give you a small example. Last week, there was a tie-up with Taiwan, where Taiwan will invest $250 billion in the US in the next 3 years. And at the time of signing, the Commerce Secretary of US was threatening that in case you don't invest, we will move the tariffs to 100%. That's not how you talk to an equal partner. So India has been very refined, very sophisticated. They have done all the negotiations backstage, and they have maintained cordiality in public discourse. I think India has handled this very well. Overall, India has been proved right because even the deals that were done are being revisited on every whim and every fancy of the U.S. administration. So India has not really lost out because of the way things are moving now. Europe is being threatened with 10% tariffs extra by 1st February, 25% extra by June. Yesterday, France was threatened with 200% tariffs on French wine and champagne. So it's not a guarantee that once you have signed, it's a signed and done deal. It gets revisited at every forum. So India has done well by sticking to its own national interest.
Mr. Bagga, in fact, the markets today fell sharply. In fact, 1,000 points drop in Sensex, and they've been bleeding for the entire past whole week. And the reasons, among others, is definitely the ongoing trade and tariff war. Do you think the India-EU trade deal in some way could offset the ongoing tensions that have been created on D Street because of the India-US tariffs?
Yeah, I think it's more a global issue today, a global risk-off. If you look at the U.S. Dow Jones, it's pointing to a 700-800 point cut at open today. Yesterday was a U.S. market holiday. U.S. futures are also showing cuts of 1.5%. Across Asia and Europe, markets were down today. So India has, markets have lost some amount of sentimental fillip due to the lack of a U.S. trade deal. Today was more a global risk-off because we don't know how this Greenland threats play out and how big an issue it might become. You look at Japan today, their bond market saw a sell-off. You had a minor sell-off in most Asian markets. European markets are down. French winemakers are down today, on the back of 200% tariff rate. So India, we saw a 1% cut. We have been underperforming for the last 14-15 months. The catalyst will be a U.S. trade deal or a revival in earnings or something good coming in the budget. These are the three catalysts we are looking at as a market.
Could the India-EU trade be one of the triggers?
Yes, it will be, but it's a minor trigger. It's not as big as an earnings recovery or something coming from the budget. So yes, it's definitely it's going to be a positive, but we need many more parts to start clicking in. So it will be a positive. It is a move ahead, and it will help the economy a lot. So all those positives are there, but it cannot fulfill the sentimental issue of the U.S. trade deal. That is there for the markets.
Mr. Bagga, which are some of the sectors that you feel stand to benefit from the India-EU trade deal?
See, all automobile or auto machinery, basic intermediate machinery, and then our consumption sectors like textile, gems, jewelry, leather, fine chemicals, specialty chemicals, all these will benefit from this deal. Also our metal makers, because Europe has got very little metal making left on mainland Europe. So our metal companies also could export, but largely it will be consumption as well as intermediate goods, electronics, all those would benefit from a European deal.
Right, Mr. Bagga, thank you so much. We also have Kishore Subramaniam, financial expert, joining us on the phone line. Mr. Subramaniam, well, this is a $1 billion trade deal that will become the real deal at this Republic Day. It's being called the mother of all deals. How do you react to this statement by the EU chief?
Yeah, see, the EU trade deal will offset a little bit, but let me be very honest that the true triggers for this market are going to be the earnings, because I believe that that's going to be the core factor, number one. Number two, the Indo-US trade deal is also something which we are not very sure whether it's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
But if earnings picked up, which is the core, I don't think so that we will have to look at any other further triggers. yes, these minor factors, that are some swaps in the budget, some EU trade deal, maybe something which softens the tariff rate between India and America may help. But the core is earnings. So if you look at the index, the large index in terms of the Sensex in the last 2 years, the returns are sub 8% now. Now, this is a very rare phase in the last 1 decade where you've got a 2-year earning less than 8%, barring that small period of COVID where, we had such low returns. So, though earnings are still not catching up, I believe that the earnings, if they are modest, anywhere between 12 and 14% this year, I think we should see a strong recovery happening in the second half. Otherwise, with the Trump mania that's going on in terms of capturing Venezuela issue, the Greenland issue, I think market is in for a rough patch.
Right. Many thanks, Mr. Subramanian. We also have market expert Sunil Shah joining us on the phone line. Mr. Shah, this is the EU-India free trade agreement, the largest one as it's touted to be, and offering preferential access to all 27 EU member states through a single framework. But what does really India stand to, really gain from this if it materializes?
Well, very positive. Look, China, their trade with US has gone down by almost 19%. But overall, if you see, China is extending their record-breaking trade surplus. This year, calendar year 25, they closed with 1.2 trillion. What it suggests and what it indicates that if US is not the market, focus on other markets, de-risk yourself, don't concentrate. So I think this is the beginning. You do not have everything on the very first day. The thing is that this after UK deal, this EU deal, and many more to come by, you will de-risk, and this will, I would say, improve the sentiment. It will correct the sentiment, and things I see as a very positive thing.
Right. Mr. Sunil Shah, many thanks for joining us with your reaction on that big development that is coming in as far as the FTA between